Hey lovelies, it's Alexa with Bluewood's Design, and I am here with a super fun StencilGirl collaboration. So there's a whole group of us that signed up to do this, and we were all given the same book, this little 13 Days Adrift, and we were told to create a journal of some sort using this book. Now, it was not just like a create this into a journal. It was like literally take it apart and use it however you want and reinvent it, right? So here I am taking it apart and I'm getting my file folders out because I wanted that thick, sturdy base. File folders are great for that. And then I'm pulling out my StencilGirl stencils. Now, we were given the instruction to create black and white and to use a specific shape or repeating pattern of some kind, right? Like, so if we were going to use circle stencils or bird stencils, I clearly chose face stencils because you know me, I love a face. Okay, so I decided to use file folders. They are great for creating journals with. Now, I am collaging these papers over top because obviously we were using these pages as part of our process. However, just in general, using file folders is a really great idea. If you've ever used some of those Dilutions, I believe it is, journals, they have that thicker, smooth, cardstocky type paper. And that is the same feel. And, like you can do the same things with file folders. So I love using file folders to create journals because I love the surface of it. I love the thickness of it. But also, like, even if you're not going to use it for that purpose, like collaging these papers on top, right? Like, obviously that changes the surface that I'm working on, which is totally fine, but it does give me a ton of like sturdiness to my pages. These little books that we got were a little bit older, so the pages aren't super strong, so adding them onto this made them really sturdy. Okay, so now I had originally thought about cutting these down, and you can see I cut them in like a waterfall fashion where like the first page cuts off and then the next page is a little longer and the next page is a little longer. And I had just thought about folding them as is, but as I realized with those pages collaged on, it was a little thicker. So great thing about a file folder, particularly the ones I had, was they already had the line crease in there in case you're using like tons of papers in your file folders. So it was super easy. I didn't have to measure or anything. I just kind of felt for that line, and I'll show you it here. You can see there's a few different lines, and I found that last one and just folded it over, and I had this perfect little spot to do my binding. My binding is super simple, just 2 holes that I put in the top there, and then I use some wax thread and I leave my tails hanging out. You could really use any thread, especially when you're just doing like a 2-hole binding. It's super easy. You're not going to get a lot of fraying and you're not going in and out of a million holes, but I had my wax thread, so I used that. And I'm going to just put it through and tie it up and have some tails hanging off so I can put some beads on it because I love that look. Okay. So what you're going to see here is I am going to go through and gesso these pages. Now, smart person might gesso them beforehand, but I don't know. I just got caught up and started making my journal. So I was like, oh man, we're doing black and white, and these are super like cream, like distressed old pages. So I'm like, all right, I got to put gesso on them. So what I did, and now if you're super like neat and pristine and don't want anything fussy, then yeah, do it beforehand. Me, I just said, well, all right, I already put it together, so I guess I'll just gesso all the pages. Now, the great thing is that because it's put together this way and it has that sturdy cardstock type thing in between, I can set it up on its side and spread out all the pages, and they don't stick together, so it dries super easily. Another thing about when you're making your binding, I like to use just like a scrap of cardboard to make my holes. And then I have a nice little palette on the side that I can then just make a mess and whatever. And of course, if you're mixed media, who doesn't love some cardboard that's already got paint all over it? It's lovely. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little overview of what I was doing. So I made the first part of the journal. We've been doing this collab, or like had it on our kind of to-do list for a while. So I made the journal early on, and then more recently finished it off because I was kind of like, had a lot going on, and I was like, okay, well, I already have my stencils and I know what I'm going to do. It's all good. Like, well, then the recent events of our world took place. I live in the United States, for those of you watching outside of the United States, and I'm sure you have heard plenty about the Roe v. Wade and the women's rights situation going on right now. So I just couldn't help myself. When I sat back down to start playing with my stencils and finishing off my journal, I was just stenciling these women's faces, and some of the stencils that I have, I just felt like they were such fierce, awesome faces. So there's a definite theme to my book. So my book is definitely like a women's power type thing. Okay, so for this first page, I decided I wanted to use this little frame that I had. I grabbed one of my little stencils and some India ink. Now, I put some India ink into a dauber, it has that little felt tip to it, so I can like push down, get some ink to come out. I pushed that through the stencil. Now, if you are want a super precise stencil, this will give you a little bit messier of a stencil. And if you use a wet paintbrush, you can use it to kind of move it around, do some shading. I really like it for that. It's kind of like putting watercolor through a stencil, right? Like you're not going to get these perfect, pristine images. But I wanted to play with how I stenciled. I didn't want to do it all the same. I wanted to have some different variations of how I use these stencils, just to show you that you can do it a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to just be, the traditional way. A lot of them I do use what I would consider a more traditional way of stenciling, which is I use a makeup sponge and some acrylic paint, and I dab it through, and that will give you a nice clean image, and you'll see me do that later. But for this girl on the front, I was just kind of going with that inspiration of the like watercolory, more fluid, less precise vision. So you're going to see me now create a bunch of face pages, and you won't see what you won't see is that I add words to each page. I just filmed me using the stencils from StencilGirl, which I will link below. Definitely check them out. If you are not super comfortable with like drawing faces and you want to have faces, I mean, I love drawing faces, but I still buy face stencils. They're super fun and it pushes you to create in a different way. So yeah, you'll see me do that. And then at the end, you'll see the reveal, how I kind of made this feel a little bit more pertinent to the world we are living in right now. And yes, some of my own personal feelings about, strong women and fighting for what we deserve. You will see right now, I am just sort of doing each of these little stick out edges. I decided to kind of paint them all black and add some different black and white washi tape and just collage papers that I had, because I just wanted to make it interesting that when it was closed, there was something to see and there was like an interest to it. And then each page as you open will reveal the next one. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoy watching and maybe get inspired to do something similar. Make this journal if you want. Honestly, I will probably make more like this. It's super fun, and the file folders worked amazingly to create like the perfect base and a nice thick spine for my binding. It's really, really fun. So if you create that, otherwise, if you are inspired to do some strong females, make sure to check out the StencilGirl stencils, because those are some fierce stencils. I love them. I feel like they are so gorgeous. Yeah, so check this out. Watch to the end. Let me know what you think. I hope you guys love it. And the other thing to do is check out Tina Walker. She is the one kind of hosting this whole thing, and she will have all the different journals created by all the different artists on her blog. So make sure to check that out. I will link it below, and you guys are not going to want to miss it, because seriously, some of these journals that these women created, I am like blown away. Just awesome. Okay, you guys, and I will see you soon. I promise. I keep saying I'm going to make more videos, but I'm working on a huge project right now for Art Prize in Grand Rapids, which is taking up a good amount of my time. So I have not been making as many videos as I would like, but I promise after the summer, I will get back to making my regular videos. In the meantime, I hope to have a couple here and there for you. Otherwise, say hello, give me a little shout in the comments, and I will chat back, because I know it's been, I don't know, a little while since my last video. All right, you guys, hang out, enjoy, watch the whole thing, and have a great day.